We're moving into an era where Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, and all other network news stations are going to start covering the UFO subject around the clock. This is not a fairy tale. This is not a badly written movie script. This is reality that's going to arise in the public sphere. The reason this is going to ensue is because we're on the cusp of worldwide confirmation. The whole world accepting the following as absolute scientific fact is the definition of confirmation.
I will tell you unequivocally that through the observation, scientific methodologies that were applied to look at this phenomena, that these aircraft, we'll call them aircraft, are displaying characteristics that are not currently within the U.S. inventory, nor in any foreign inventory that we are aware of.
So I know you're being clear, but I mean, the answer is yes.
I can't speak on behalf of the government. Obviously, I'm not in the U.S. government anymore. My personal belief is that there is very compelling evidence that we may not be alone. Whatever that means.
Luis Elizondo, former director of the UFO program and the Pentagon, has said on multiple occasions that we're going to have a fundamentally different conversation on the UFO subject by this time next year. And that new conversation, in my opinion, is going to catalyze the UFO subject being infused into science, academia, political structures, sociology, history, education, movies, music, art, and just about every other cultural and intellectual arena on the planet. Because it's real, because we're being visited, because these objects are not of human origin and are of technological nature. These are the facts. You can deny it all you want, but just know the scientific substantiation of the phenomena is going to increase at an exponential pace because the science is there. Come back to this video 5 years from now and tell me UFOs aren't real, and I'll tell you that you're no more sophisticated than a flat earther or perhaps Neil deGrasse Tyson. Here's an August 3rd, 2018 tweet by Nick Pope that underscores the very beginning stages of the transformation our world is undergoing. It's official. Fox News posted the second of my 2 Tucker Carlson Tonight interviews on their YouTube channel, and within 2 weeks, it has over 1 million views. Discussion of UFOs is moving out of the fringe and into the mainstream. Here's what Ralph Blumenthal had to say about the revelatory bombshell December 16th article in the New York Times.
There is fascination. This is probably the most watched and looked at story the New York Times has run in a long time because people are fascinated by the subject.
The following are some recent articles about the phenomena that are showing up at an increasingly rapid pace because our world is transitioning. On August 3rd, the New York Times published an article titled "A Radar Blip, A Flash of Light, How UFOs Exploded into Public View." This article mainly covers the 1952 Washington, D.C. UFO event series, but also touches on Roswell, Project Blue Book, and the Robertson panel. December 16th, 2017 will not be the end of the New York Times involvement in the UFO issue. On the contrary, it's just the beginning. On August 14th, the New York Times published an article titled "They've Seen Things." A group in Los Angeles has attracted UFO enthusiasts from all over the world. They've formed together around the common question, what are these things in the sky exactly, and how can they know more about them? This article is essentially about summoning UFOs, which is what CE5 is all about. According to Engaging the Phenomenon Twitter account, CE5 is defined as Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, CE5. Human-initiated contact with a UFO or bilateral contact where there is an apparent interaction between the human and UFO intelligence. This can be by responding to directed thoughts, telepathy, flashes of light, or any other number of means of interaction. It's not just newsprint that is ramping up its coverage of the UFO ET issue. Television is also following this trend. The History Channel will be launching the new drama series Project Blue Book, based on the true investigations into UFOs and related phenomena, conducted by the U.S. Air Force from 1952 to 1969. The History Channel has recently launched the television show In Search of Rebooted, which will examine unexplained phenomena from all over the world, including, of course, UFOs. There's an upcoming sci-fi movie that will be in theaters on September 4th titled UFO, which is a dramatic takeoff from the 2007 O'Hare UFO event, which was a very significant sighting. Finally, CBS is expanding the Star Trek television franchise with Sir Patrick Stewart returning as Jean-Luc Picard, who'll be fulfilling the lead role. So why is network television starting to take the UFO ET issue on with such urgency? I'll answer that question with a quote that Stephen Bassett recently made on the UFO show. What do you think the ratings on Blue Book will be if next Monday morning Putin goes in front of the Russian people and says, yeah, we know about the ETs. They have been here for a long time. It will quadruple. On July 26th, MUFON held its yearly symposium, and Luis Elizondo was the keynote speaker. During the last segment, which consisted of questions and answers, a gentleman in the audience asked Elizondo, what if this is something that can go wrong? These abilities that you seem to be capturing here, the potential for these abilities that seem to be outside our normal physics. If this is something that we would have to defend ourselves against, what's the worst case scenario? Elizondo responds, I'd tell you already it's too late because it's here. So we have a choice. We can live with our heads buried in the sand and hope it goes away, or we can take our head out of the sand and try to figure out how it works. But whether we choose to accept it or not, it doesn't care. Another interesting statement Elizondo made at the symposium. If you are looking for government to give you acknowledgement and just give you full disclosure, I'll tell you right here and now, the government's job is not to satisfy idle curiosity. That's not the function of the government. I know we want it to be, but that's not the case. The purpose of the government is to defend this country from all enemies, foreign and domestic. That's not a point without merit. I would argue, however, that historical government-initiated propaganda designed to trivialize and ridicule the UFO subject so that scientists wouldn't take it seriously is a grotesque stain on American history. I would also argue that while the Pentagon and the intelligence services aren't tasked to satisfy idle curiosity, NASA does not fall into this category. NASA is the civilian space program of the United States. NASA has spent trillions of American tax dollars for the purpose of combing the universe in search of life, whether through probes, rovers, telescopes, cameras, or other means. If NASA has any data whatsoever of ruins on other planets, or the far side of the moon, or has recorded any AAVs through any of their sensors, and has kept this data from the world, they will not be able to fall back on the excuse that they are not tasked to fulfill idle curiosity. Not when copious amounts of American tax dollars are funneled to their organization for the purpose of finding life in our universe. Tom DeLonge met with high-level government officials back in 2015. From organizations such as Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, CIA, NSA, and the Air Force. But he also met with people from NASA. In fact, he conveyed in a Coast to Coast AM interview in 2016. The very first thing I was told at NASA was this is a very good time for this. This was a quote, very, very good time for this project. So I'm sensing good things. Someone at NASA was essentially telling DeLonge that now was a good time to spearhead disclosure. So NASA certainly knows the phenomena exists. Beyond that, DeLonge shared something extremely interesting in a Coast to Coast AM episode from 2014. DeLonge and his associates created a software program back in 2007 called ModLife, designed to help him monetize his band's products. Later down the line, he sold that software to other bands such as Nine Inch Nails and Pearl Jam. But prior to that, he tried to pitch his software to NASA and actually flew out and met with people at NASA. He wanted to see if there was anyone from NASA that could use their software to stream educational lessons into classrooms. On one of those trips, him and an associate asked personnel at NASA why the US never went back to the moon. A lady pulled them out into the hallway and said, "Look, I have talked to 3 of my bosses, All three of these guys have worked here for 40 years or more, and they all said that after the Apollo missions, the FBI came in and took everything. Every schematic, every engineering blueprint, disk, file, whatever, took it all. DeLong then goes on to explain, going back to the moon would demand that NASA would have to start completely over. That's why they say, hey, we can go back to the moon, but it will take us 20 years. But it's like, what are you talking about? We've already gone. Well, it's because NASA would have to start all over again. We no longer have anything to build upon all the science on how to get back to the moon. It was all confiscated by the FBI. So you gotta ask yourself, why did the FBI do that? What was so scary in their mind that they had to remove all the scientific data on how to travel to the moon? And that's what DeLong had to explain. On July 26th, To the Stars Academy launched the Atom Research Project, an academic research program focused on exotic materials for technology innovation. This is the wing of To the Stars Academy that will examine anomalous materials that potentially originate from non-terrestrial UFOs. A recent article by Keith Basterfield, link is in the description, argued persuasively through investigative efforts that the mysterious metal that To the Stars Academy picked up on June 13th, 2018, which was previewed in their launch video for the Atom Research Project, comes from a man named Ed that discovered a mysterious piece of metal in rural Ohio in 2003. Apparently, the piece of metal was obscured over the winter by 2 heavy snowfalls and numerous lesser ones, and he didn't discover it until raking up the last fall's leaves and twigs. Here is a picture of that piece of mysterious metal. The indication is that it was at one point molten before it solidified. There is a whole literature of UFOs dropping metal slag to the earth. Will this particular piece of metal prove to have unique isotopic ratios, indicating it was not produced on Earth? Well, that's what the Atom Research Project, headed by Hal Puthoff and Eric Davis, are going to have to find out. There's a rumor going around that To the Stars Academy are also in the possession of metal shavings from the Rendlesham Forest UFO incident. Here's a tweet from Nick Pope covering that. I wish To the Stars Academy every success with the Atom Research Project, and in particular with any isotopic ratio analysis and other scientific tests of any material associated with the Rendlesham Forest incident. Jason McClellan responds, since when did any material associated with Rendlesham exist? Were you aware of anyone claiming to possess any such material? Nick Pope responds, yes, Brenda Butler was given material by Steve Roberts. Ronnie Dugdale was given material by an anonymous woman with a U.S. accent. And then, of course, there were the soil samples, sap samples, etc., taken by Colonel Holt and subsequently taken to Ramstein by General Gabriel. It should be noted that a direct witness from the Rendlesham Forest incident has also chimed in and said that To the Stars Academy does indeed have metal shavings from that UFO event in Rendlesham Forest. Here is a quote from Hal Puthoff from his recent exclusive public speech in Las Vegas. Meetings are being set up with people from other countries because other countries who also have materials don't necessarily want to give them to the United States government because they disappear in a black hole and they never learn anything. But given our commitment as a public benefit corporation, that's not going to happen with us. They are now talking with us and we're collaborating on obtaining materials from foreign countries. And here's a quote from Elizondo at the recent UFO symposium that echoes Hal's sentiments. Organizations like TTSA are developing initiatives like the Community of Interest, data repositories, and information sharing. Information sharing, don't think of it as just being here. Information sharing is international. It is global. As we have seen before, there's many nations here represented. That is exactly what we need to continue to do, both as a society and as a government. I'm detecting a trend with To the Stars Academy that's very encouraging. It would be a huge mistake to look at this organization as nothing more than an entity that gets the Pentagon to release videos of UFO gun camera footage. While the UFO gun camera videos have been vital for the disclosure effort and shifting the paradigm, To the Stars Academy is harnessing a much wider spectrum effort than that. Here's an August 20th Facebook post by To the Stars Academy. In it, you see Chris Mellon and Luis Elizondo. This is most likely a capture for an upcoming documentary that is slated to go on network television. In fact, I've heard from 3 separate sources that To the Stars Academy is going to have a documentary on the History Channel about the activities of To the Stars Academy. I just hope it's a series and not a one-off. If the History Channel enjoys the bloody dinero, they will be doing many great things with To the Stars Academy in the future. In the video preview of the Adams Project, which is most likely a clip from the To the Stars Academy documentary that's currently in the works, Luis Elizondo said something really compelling. We're simply saying that there's something out there in our airspace we don't control. We don't know what the hell it is, and so if it's not the eyewitness reports, and it's not the videos, and it's not the electro-optical data, and it's not the electromechanical data, well, how about materials? Will that be enough? To that I will say, Mr. Elizondo, I do believe that this data fusion onslaught, spearheaded by To the Stars Academy, will be enough to initiate the greatest paradigm shift in human history. And it will be a global effort indeed. I will close this video with 2 quotes. The first from Luis Elizondo from the recent MUFON Symposium. He's referring to disclosure in the following quote. Will this be a paradigm shift for the sake of humanity and maybe allow us to maybe get our heads out of the sand a little bit and start focusing somewhere else instead of at each other? Boy, that'd be great. And here's a recent quote from Paul Hynek, the son of J. Allen Hynek, who, of course, was the scientific consultant on Project Blue Book. And if we do find more than sort of methane type things on Mars, and really incontrovertible proof of intelligent life, as we would call it elsewhere, a lot of the problems we have between nations and people now, I think, will seem very petty, and it will usher in, hopefully, an enlightened new era.
I couldn't help at one point in my discussions privately with General Secretary Gorbachev, when you stop to think that we're all God's children wherever we may live in the world, I couldn't help but say to him, just think how easy his task and mine might be in these meetings that we held if suddenly there was a threat to this world from some other species from another planet outside in the universe. We'd forget all the little local differences that we have between our countries, and we would find out once and for all that we really are all human beings here on this earth together.
Threat or not, disclosure will unite humanity, because that's what the unknown does. If you enjoyed this video, please do not forget to subscribe. And if you'd like to support this channel, you can check out my merch shop. Link is in the description below. Or you could even become a patron. Or you could just slap a like on this bad boy, and I'll appreciate it so much. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.